Darling, it's a Shy Life podcast.
Yes, but it's a positive thing, Paul. A highlight, the Shy Life.
You won't find a cast of characters like this everywhere.
Hello, Paul.
I'll go anywhere for a potato.
Delicious.
This particular episode of The Shy Life is a little more abstract than usual.
Oh, yippee.
Okay, looks like the hairy guy is ready to record. 3, 2, 1.
Go Shy Yeti.
Oh, I hope he hasn't found out my secret. I think he has.
Hello and welcome to yet another episode of the Shy Life podcast with me, Paul the Shy Yeti, who's feeling a bit frazzled today. Although I don't know when this episode will be coming out. Today I'm here with Nick, and it's the first time we've recorded in the same room for quite a while.
About a year, isn't it?
Yeah. You did come over to the house a couple of times in when we were allowed to last year.
Yeah.
But it's also the day of the Pride 48 live streaming event 2021, and we had some technical issues. And
our Pride was dented.
Yeah, we were on Zoom. We were being rescued by Adam Burns. We were coming back and going away, and we met ourselves coming back or something, whatever the phrase is. Anyway, so we're just going to settle down now and discuss 3 years in film. And there won't be any problems, and it'll just be nostalgia. Or we probably won't recognise half the films, but that's not a big problem. So anyway, let's run the theme music. When we come back, we'll get Cuthbert to choose us some years. And yes, all right, run that theme music.
Okay, we are recording.
It's time for my old buddy, old pal from across the channel, across the pond, Paul Chandler, the Shy Yeti.
He's not that shy. Oh, it's the Shy Life podcast. Yeah!
All I wanted was a pie,
And then I hatched out of an egg. Okay, bring the mic over. He's ready to record.
It's the quiet ones you've got to watch, you know.
Is it metaphorical? Is it deep? Is it deep?
Good boy. He's not all that shy is right.
Blimey, governor. It's the Shy Life podcast.
If you thought that was bad, just listen to this.
Oh, I can't wait for it to begin.
It's the Shy Life podcast.
He's positively glowing.
It's all gooey and meaty and yum, 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 yum.
Hello, listeners. We're back, and Comedy joins us. Hello, Paul. I know I don't need to be here, but the listeners, they want some celebrities in this episode. Oh, you're getting very cheeky, Comedy. I think, sorry, listeners, Comedy was very cheeky in the live streaming episode earlier. I think he's you've been listening to too much Getting Uncle John. I know, Paul. I'm only playing. Good. Right, so is Cuthbert ready? Cuthbert, are you ready to choose the first year?
Yes, Paul, I am ready to select the first year for you. I am excited! Exclamation.
Yes, that he sounds like he is. Yes, it does, right. Well, Cuthbert, please, do that then. Do tell us the first year.
Our first film year this episode is 1970! Exclamation.
Nick, 1970, what do you make of it?
Oh, 1970. Well, off the top of my head, I mean, from my own collection, Hogan's Heroes, not Hogan's Heroes, Kelly's Heroes, and it springs immediately to mind. Made by the same director as Where Eagles Dare, the Alistair MacLean thriller. It's actually got Telly Savalas, Clint Eastwood, Donald Sutherland as American fighting in World War II, kind of cut off and basically generally battered by their own side as much as, and they hatch a plan to steal gold and eventually team up with the Germans. It's a good fun film. I when Ali sat, because it was one of Ali's favourite films, and when she sat me down in front of it nearly 20 years ago, I thought, okay, am I really going to enjoy it? And it was there was some laugh out loud moments, so it's actually I enjoyed it very much. There's a lot of films in 1970 that I have heard of, but either never seen or saw years ago.
Yeah.
It was also the year the movie version of MASH came out.
Yes. Yes.
2 years before the TV series. Again, Donald Sutherland.
I do have a what I have here is it's mainly US sort of how well they did in the US, but don't know whether the statistics just weren't so kept so well in the UK. But I can tell you that the highest grossing film of 1970 was Love Story.
I was going to say Love Story.
Yeah. Then Airport.
Airport's another one. Yes, the first of the disaster. Well, it was the first disaster movie, wasn't it? I mean, it was.
Then we have MASH at number 3. We have Patton.
Oh yes, General Patton, a biopic with George C. Scott as Patton.
Then we have Woodstock, which is a documentary of the music concert Woodstock. We have Little Big Man, number 6. That's another Western. Then we have Tora Tora Tora.
That's right.
Which is about the Pearl Harbor. A lot of these are historical.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was because of what was going on in Vietnam. I know they're not about Vietnam, but war is in the air.
War, yes, exactly. I think there was a lot of war talk back then.
Number 8 is Ryan's Daughter with Robert Mitchum and Sarah Miles.
I saw that about 23 years ago. It's a very good film. It's a wee bit on the long side. It's set in Ireland, and it's got a brilliant performance by John Mills as the, for want of a better word, village idiot. And he's absolutely brilliant. There's a young Barry Foster as well, playing a terrorist.
And number 9 is Catch 22, and is that sort of military related, isn't it?
I think it probably is. Yeah, I've always known about it as a book and as a film, but I've never actually seen it. One obscure film actually bobs into my head from 70 is one I caught on telly about 1978 and never seen since. They just don't show it, and that's the Phantom Tollbooth. Which is it's got the son from the Munsters, and it's part live action and part animation. It's quite an innovation at the time. Now,
The Owl and the Pussycat with Barbara Streisand is number 10. That's a romantic comedy. Yeah, I don't really know what's up, Doc. I do.
Hello, Dolly, which is just done here.
Yeah. I've got, before we sort of just dabble through the list of films, I've got some events. Larry, the second member of the Three Stooges, he suffered a massive stroke in January 1970. It effectively ended his career. February, the Magic Christian, starring Peter Sellers and Ringo Starr, premieres in New York City. There was a soundtrack album which included Bad Fingers, Come and Get It, which was written by Paul McCartney. Also that year, the controversial film The Boys in the Band, which had been an off-Broadway play, the film version opens. I do have that. I think they did a remaking of that quite recently it's sort of about the gay scene, a few years before, after legalisation but before AIDS, and then they made it with quite recently again with lots of gay actors in the 2010s, or maybe even the early 2020s. I can't remember when it was made now, but it's one of those things that without changing the script that much, you can probably it's still relevant, or can be made to be relevant. In October 1970, Joan Crawford's final film, was released. It was the low-budget horror picture Trog, which I've never seen, but I probably want to because it's a bit of a notorious film for being pretty bad. In December, John Lennon and Yoko Ono's film Up Your Legs Forever, with 367 participants in New York City. Does that mean 367 actors or cinemas are showing it? I don't know. I've never heard of it, and I'm a Beatles fan. Probably an experimental film.
There's lots of experimenting in those days.
Apparently they didn't have the permits to make the film. It was based on a script by Yoko Ono. The camera work of the film should constantly go up, 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 non-stop, collect 367 pairs of legs and just go up the legs from toes to end of thighs, pair after pair, and go up until you run through the whole 300. Dear, I don't think this is something.
They must have been really smoking something dodgy.
Yeah, I don't think. Apparently, there are some famous legs involved. I wonder if it's even. I've just never heard it even mentioned. Maybe it's more something that's considered part of Yoko Ono's work almost than John's, and I'm less of an expert on Yoko Ono. So. I don't know. I've just never heard of it. But lovely one for our film night, Nick.
Yeah.
When we want to fall asleep.
I think it's got
it might
some
be
legs.
fascinating for all I know. But the first IMAX projection system premieres at the Expo 70 in Osaka in Japan, and Culver City MGM begins selling off its studio backlot property and movie props. Although this is the results of 1971 Academy Awards, etc., it's the 1970 films, obviously. So it shows how different it was. Best film drama in the 28th Golden Globe Awards was Love Story, but musical or comedy was MASH. The BAFTA Awards, the winner was Butch Cassidy for Best Film. I don't think they broke it up into different types of films. The 43rd Academy Awards was Patton. That was the best film. Best Director at the Globes was Arthur Hiller for Love Story. It was George Roy Hill for Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. And it was Franklin J. Schaefer for Patton. Best Actor in a Drama was in the Golden Globes. It was George C. Scott for Patton, Albert Finney for Scrooge for the musical. Best Actor for the BAFTAs that year was Robert Redford for Butch Cassidy, Downhill Racer, and Tell Them Willie Boy Is Here. And the Academy Awards, it was George C. Scott again for Patton. I think I was going to stop there, but I think there's still some interesting things I need to relate. Best Actress was Ali McGraw for Love Story. This was at the Golden Globes. Carrie Snodgrass for Diary of a Mad Housewife in musical or comedy. BAFTAs, it was Catherine Ross for Butch Cassidy and Tell Them Willie Boy Is Here. The Academy Awards, it was Glenda Jackson for Women in Love. Best Supporting Actor, you mentioned him, John Mills, Ryan's Daughter at the Globes. Colin Welland for Kes at the BAFTAs, and John Mills again for the Academy Awards. Best Supporting Actor was Karen Black for 5 Easy Pieces, but also Maureen Stapleton for Airport. Susanna York for They Shoot Horses, Don't They, for the BAFTAs, and Helen Hayes for Airport at the Academy Awards.
Oh, bless her.
I think we will stop there because I just want to go through the list of some of the other films that came out that year. Ones we may... also, I can't read all of them, but there's Alice in Wonderland, Donald Sutherland.
Right.
That is... It's a comedy drama film with Ellen Burstyn, a director agonising over the choice of a follow-up project. It sounds like something we might be... It's not one I've heard of, but it does sound like it might potentially be interesting. Young director Alex Morrison feels compelled to follow his recent box office hit with another blockbuster. While mulling over this dilemma, the director's mind wanders to his past, his present and probable future. It could either be good or it could just be a mess. Let's have a look. Does it say whether it's considered a good film or bad? Doesn't really say. I'm sure I could find out. But anyway. Disney film, the Aristocats.
Now, I do remember the Aristocats because that was... I was actually one at the time, of coming up to two. I turned two in 1970. And Aristocats, I think, must have been one of the first films I saw because I have a distinct memory of being aware of it. I think I had a Viewmaster of the Aristocats. And it goes... we had a rotary clothesline at the time, and there was the name of the kittens was Marie, Toulouse and Burials. And we used to run around the rotary clothesline singing Marie, Toulouse and Burials.
Yeah.
Burials.
I'm pretty sure they often, with Disney films, show them again at the cinema years afterwards.
Oh, indeed they do, yeah. But no, it was a nice little movie. I wouldn't mind seeing it again sometime.
Yeah. Beneath the Planet of the Apes came out. I'm not sure how far we are into that's the
I
second.
have a feeling it's the second one.
Yeah, second of 5 films. Beyond the Valley of the Dolls, that's Russ Meyer film. That's sort of, how to describe that? Well, Russ Meyer often made quite sexy films. But yeah, it was originally intended as a sequel to the 1967 film Valley of the Dolls, dolls being a slang term for depressant pills or downers. Beyond the Valley of the Dolls was instead revised as a parody of the commercially successful but critically reviled original Beyond Metasimilar Fate. It was initially panned by critics but became a box office success. Yeah, I think I've definitely got the book The Valley of the Dolls. I haven't read it yet, but I think I have a DVD release which has both films on. Bigfoot with John Carradine and John Mitchum, horror film. Should see that. I don't know if I should see that. You might say nasty things about it. It's bound to not be very Yeti friendly.
Yeti friendly.
There's a interesting The Boatniks it's made by Walt Disney, but it has Robert Moore, Stephanie Powers, Phil Silvers. It's a comedy. I've not really heard of that. What else can I tell you about? Count Yorga Vampire. That's a sort of, how's that best to describe that? That's American vampire horror film, and there was a sequel, The Return of Count Yorga. Now I have this in my collection. I quite like it because it's an American take on vampires, and I think it's a bit like, if I remember rightly, it's a contemporary setting, so it's a bit like those, I think I'm right in saying that, it's a bit like those later Hammer films, where they have like Dracula AD 1973 or whatever. And I always like, I'm a bit fussy with vampire films. I do prefer sort of contemporary vampire films rather than people dressed in period costumes like a lot of the Hammer films are. It's one of the reasons I like Dark Shadows is a lot of it is set in the time it's made. Not that there's anything wrong with it, it's just me. There's nothing wrong with Hammer films set in the 1800s or 1900s, whatever, but the Dunwich Horror with Dean Stockwell, that's American supernatural horror. Got Egg Begley in it. It's based on a H.P. Lovecraft story. I think I have seen that. I think it's a bit trippy. Elvis, That's the Way It Is. I think that might be, it's a documentary, but I think, well, it's his first non-dramatic film, but I think it's also the end of his film run, of the run of films that came out about him throughout the whole, all the 60s. Because I think we've talked on the show about one of his later ones. 5 Easy Pieces with Jack Nicholson. That's,
Oh yeah.
but I've definitely heard of that. I don't think I've ever seen it. That's a drama film about an oil rig worker. The Honeymoon Killers. Now, I think that's quite obscure, but I think I own that one. I think it's sort of along the lines of some of those. Well, you know, there's a sort of quite low budget. I wouldn't call them exactly horror films, maybe psychological horror. Some of them you've got, like Auntie Roo, and it's sort of along those sort of like. House of Dark Shadows came out in 1970. Now that was Dark Shadows was still being made. This is the first feature-length film. It's the one that is the most like. It has Barnabas. It has all the sort of familiar characters. The second film has less of the famous characters in, but it tries to be like a Hammer film, and I think Dark Shadows succeeds in being a weird daytime soap opera. It doesn't need to be Hammer horror. It gets to do completely different things being a daytime soap opera than anything that happens in it, and you can have plots that go on for weeks, and a Hammer horror film can't do that. A Hammer horror has got a 90-minute length or whatever. So for Dark Shadows, it's an obvious step up, but Dark Shadows was best at being what it is known for, rather than trying to compete with the big boys, really. Because by then Hammer films were kind of beginning to get boring.
They were dead in the water, really, weren't they?
They were kind of, we didn't really. I wonder whether it was even shown like overseas, because considering that Dark Shadows wasn't even known, whether it got shown and people went to see it, but they didn't know that it had any connection with the TV series. I'm not sure. I'd have to look into that. But now, Husbands by John Cassavetes, I have that at home. It's got Peter Falk, Ben Gazzara, and John Cassavetes. I have that because I think it was around. It's about 3 middle-class men in the throes of a midlife crisis following the death of a close friend. I think I kind of bought it. I haven't watched it yet, but I bought it because it had Peter Falk and it was around the time when I was having my Columbo. And I thought, I like to see him play some other characters, because I've only ever really seen him play Columbo. So, just have a quick more look, and then we need to get Cuthbert to choose our next year. There's one here called The Lady in the Car with Glasses and a Gun. That's got Samantha Egger, Oliver Reed, and John McEnery. It's a thriller. I think they're going to come up with a catchier title. It's a psychological thriller film based on the novel of the same name. Gosh,
as they get on the spine.
Yeah, Little Big Man, Dustin Hoffman, Faye Dunaway. That's a western. I've never seen that. Westerns aren't really my cup of tea.
No, I only really watch them. Ali likes westerns.
But Dad likes westerns, but whether he likes, I don't know. Depends if it's how modern. Because I remember there being one that came out in the 90s.
The Unforgiven?
Yeah, my dad went to see it and he couldn't stand it, but because I think it was trying to do something new with.
Yeah, we've got it.
The West. Oh yeah.
It's very good, actually. Yeah. If you don't like westerns, then it's something a bit different. It questions the whole morality of a gunslinger and questions the whole meaning of killing, whereas normal westerns are goody baddie. Whereas this is an old
swearing in it as well.
Yeah, there's a certain word that even women hesitate to use, and Clint Eastwood uses it quite liberally. But it's a very, very good film, and it's not black and white. There's no Indians. It's got the whole morality of when to kill and when not to kill. It's and the whole mindset of a sort of basically of a assassin for hire. It's great. It's a cracking film. I love it.
We've got Myra Breckenridge, which is one I've heard a lot about, and it's an American comedy film based on Gore Vidal's 1968 novel. I don't know much about it, but it's the cast is very interesting. Raquel Welch, Mae West, John Huston, Farrah Fawcett. I would, some of those names. I wouldn't necessarily know that they had.
Fawcett.
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily know that they'd all work together.
Raquel Welch was very big at the time because she, I think, most the Fantastic Voyage a few years before, and the one with the 100 million years BC.
Yes, she was in Clute, which I bought because it was a kind of iconic film.
I remember Clute.
I think I need to watch it again. It's one of those ones that's famous that you watch and you think, okay.
I wouldn't mind seeing Clute again, actually, because it's quite a...
Now you've got your Blu-ray plugged in.
Yeah.
I can bring some of my Blu-rays, which I haven't been able to bring along.
Yeah, exactly. I'd like to see Clute again. Donald Sutherland, who's always good value for money.
The Phantom Toll Booth you mentioned.
Yeah, that's the one I mentioned. Yeah. That's another film I'd like to see again, actually. It's so bonkers, isn't it?
So many films, but I think we need to move on to another year. Also, the more I look into these, the more chance of me ending up going off to Amazon and buying copies. These episodes are very expensive for me.
They are, actually. It put ideas into my head as well.
Hello listeners, it is me, Cuthbert. Whilst Paul and Nick have a quick break, I am here to share with you some Sudden Park clips from early 1995. They follow straight on from the scenes that we shared in our previous episode. We hope you enjoy them. Once they are done, we will return for more movie chat!
Everything's quiet at the moment. I think he's just unconscious. I can't get over and get Arnold quite yet. What I'm really cross about is the way that Porter seems to have totally forgotten about this matter. He's supposed to be a friend of he just doesn't seem to care. I don't want to see him again. I never want to see any of his sort. Once I've saved Arnold, I shall go away and he doesn't seem to realise that Arnold is my best mate. He's not just... Oh, Arnold! He's not talking. Oh, no. There's a chicken up there. He's talking, I think. It's a shame I can't talk to him. He can't hear my thoughts. That stupid man is unconscious again. Why do I get an owner who is he thinks he can rule the world, but I would have been better being Backov's dog, I think. Or maybe not. I'm really an evil dog myself. My business with the flashing, though. He chose I'm the faithful doggy, but he doesn't trust me. That Mr. Horner wants to prove my innocence. I better wake him up. Wake up, you stupid man.
Hello? Master Craft.
It's so embarrassing. Where
was I?
Hello viewers. Yes, we're at Parker's house. It would seem that Crispin and Richard aren't, they're not staying around for the Circus of Horrors, which is what much as I thought. I thought I could have been, but I don't mind. They really want to go and see London and see the nightlife at London and go and do shopping. In which case, apparently they're going to stay with some friends of Richard, in London. I don't think I'm going to see Crispin. He'll be going back to Charlton, of course, because he's sort of permanently based there these days, but I probably won't see Crispin until I come back to Salisbury next time, which probably won't be until February now. Anyway, so I shall say my goodbyes to them in a minute. But I shall. Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, what? Hola. I'm glad you came down.
Yes. I came down.
Apart from the obvious problems that have been happening in my park, as a consequence, I've been staying away. So I pretended that I've got the flu or something.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to be eaten by anything. You know?
Yeah.
So as a consequence, I've been preparing to try and get this done. Now, I can't make head nor tail of it.
Oh, it's the something part of it.
And I take it you can't either.
I did have a stage where I managed to start
It
understanding
says something
things.
about encode.
Yes.
But,
yeah, I did manage to decode a little bit at once, but no.
But Mr. Twitcher, whose eyesight is not at the best of times. For some reason, he's able to read words in here. Inscriptions.
That'll be possible, viewers, because of course that happened to me. I don't see why that shouldn't happen, because yes, it did happen to me. I can understand that.
So, now, there is a specific page, number 36, here, which starts with "There will be lapwings" and ends with "pleasantly with the rich brown earth." And all of a sudden, but mainly the dog's hanging around nearby, which is very rare because Twitch is not particularly fond of the dog. A devil thing appears. Now, the first time I saw that thing, I was quite perturbed. I thought it was some sort of Bacovian nasty, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But apparently it wasn't. I have since realised, because the dog suddenly, the dog, I should actually use his name, Ace, my good dog Ace.
Yes.
He is possessed.
Oh dear.
Is possessed by a demon.
Oh dear.
And it's only the words in this book that seem to relieve him of the devil.
Oh, the devil, not relieve him literally. No.
That as well.
You better be careful. Oh, you better be careful, because if Twitch has got that power, it won't necessarily last that long.
He's been like this for a year now.
God.
He's been possessed for as good as a year.
He always barks when I come in the house.
He ate my wife. But that was prior to the occasion, I have to be honest. But he's been a bloody sight worse since Backov possessed him one.
Perhaps he was being fated.
I seem to think that this devil thing must belong to someone. He must have been belonged to Backov, and as a consequence, the dogs just run rampant with no one to control the devil.
So basically, you want me to help you?
You've got to convince Twitcher to stand near that dog and read the entire passage. I have reason to believe that to make the devil stay put, he has to carry on reading up until ordinary watcher.
So basically, viewers, I've been called here to exorcise the devil.
He doesn't trust me, you see. He doesn't trust authority.
Exorcise the devil. All in the course of duty.
That's okay.
Right. So, Cuthbert, the property, is he awake? Or Dabijiki. He admitted that he was researching last time. Oh, fair enough.
Yes, Paul, I am here to help you select another film year. I am twice as excited to do so!
Cuthbert, what is the next year?
Your next film year is 1985. That's a perfect decent year, even if I say so myself!
1985.
Hey.
So I wasn't regularly going to the cinema in 1985. Not to say, well, down the list, I won't find that I did go to some films, but I was only 12.
85. By contrast, 85 was probably the year I started going to the cinema more often. It's always going to be a very important year to me because I left school that year. And was all the better for it. Mickey and Maude with Dudley Moore and Amy Irving. In fact, I went to see it because of Amy Irving, not Dudley Moore. Get Into the Groove. Desperately Seeking Susan.
Oh yeah.
Yes, I went to see that. Back to the Future, I think I saw in '86, but it was an '85 film. What else was there? Princess Bride. No, actually, Princess Bride. No, that's rubbish. Princess Bride was later.
Well, I'll tell you the top 10 films, taking into account probably the American rather than UK, so might be a slight displacement as to when films came out over here. But number 1 was Back to the Future. Number 2 was Rambo: First Blood Part 2.
Yes.
Number 3 was Rocky 4. Number 4 was The Colour Purple.
Oh, yes.
Number 5 was Out of Africa. Number 6 was Cocoon. Number 7 was The Jewel of the Nile. Number 8 was Witness. Number 9 was The Goonies. And number 10 was Spies Like Us. Now, it says here, context, the year was considered an unsuccessful one for film. Despite a record number of film releases, many films failed at the box office. The ticket sales were down 17% compared with 1984.
Oh, and View to a Kill, of course. That was...
Which is it my favourite Bond film? It's the one that I go on about most. It probably is.
It's your go-to.
It's my go-to. Yeah. I was thinking it's 86, but that's because I'm wrong.
Well, it came out when I was doing I actually missed it at the cinema because I was doing my CSEs and O-levels. So
yeah, I saw Octopussy at the cinema, but I don't think I saw View to a Kill. I wish it had been the other way around.
I saw it. I had that because I went to see Octopussy when my it was the last film I went to see with my mum.
Now, I'll run through these as quickly as possible. This is the Golden Globes, etc. Best film at the Golden Globes was Out of Africa for drama, Prizzy's Honour for musical or comedy. Now, as Woody Allen fans, this is good. BAFTAs, The Purple Rose of Cairo, Woody Allen film. Out of Africa at the Academy Awards. Best director was John Huston.
John Huston was still alive.
But for Prizzy's Honour.
Good grief.
For some reason, they didn't have a best director at the BAFTAs that year, so it's not applicable. You would have thought that Woody might have got it as he won the best film. But
Hannah and Her Sisters was the following year, I think. Wasn't it? Yeah.
Trying to think. Purple Rose of Cairo is the one about. It's the one with Jeff Daniels. I don't know if you've seen that one. It's the one all about cinema, and he comes out of.
He comes out of the cinema. I remember that clip.
The best director at the Academy Awards was Sidney Pollack for Out of Africa. Best actor was John Voight for Runaway Train, and Jack Nicholson for Prizzy's Honour. Is Prizzy's Honour another? I'm trying to work out. It's a crime film.
I think it's a gangster film, isn't it?
Best actor at the BAFTAs was William Hurt for Kiss of the Spider Woman, and also he was the winner at the Academy Awards. Best actress was Whoopi Goldberg for The Colour Purple, and Kathleen Turner for Prizzy's Honour. Now, Prizzy's Honour is obviously, if it's a crime film or a gangster film, it's a comedy, because that's what it won for.
Position it was meant to be.
Oh, this is nice. I have seen this because we did this at school. Best actress at the BAFTAs was Peggy Ashcroft for Passage to India.
That was the year before, wasn't it?
Well, I guess not, because this was at the 1986 BAFTAs. So, and Geraldine Page, best actress for The Trip to Bountiful. I don't really know about that. No, you know that film. It's an American drama film. Best supporting actor was Klaus Maria Brandauer for Out of Africa. Apologies if I pronounced that wrong.
I think that's the guy that was the baddie in Never Say Never Again.
Denham Elliott for Defence of the Realm at the BAFTAs, and Donna Miche for Cocoon. Best supporting actress was Meg Tilly for Agnes of God, and Rosanna Arquette for Desperately Seeking Susan. Desperately Seeking Susan is... I discovered that... I saw Desperately Seeking Susan a lot more recently than that, but I also discovered that Desperately Seeking Susan is inspired by a rather esoteric French film, which I then also bought and saw that, yes, okay, you can see that there's a scene where I can't remember if it's Madonna following, or which way round it is, but they're following through a market, and the scene is completely the same as this. Now let me see if I can find out. Celine and Julie Go Boating. It's a 1974 film, but the film was inspired in part by the 1974 film Celine and Julie Go Boating, and it's a kind of, again, quite a trippy film. I think I've got it on Blu-ray, so maybe I can share it with you sometime, and you'll be able to see the similarities. I quite enjoyed it. But it is quite long.
Celebrity Seeking Susan, one of those films that I enjoyed watching, but I'd be almost too wistful watching it now because of the period it was, the sort of starting college, starting school. I just want to be 17 again, you know. It would be too nostalgic almost.
Woody Allen, the Golden Globes, he won Best Screenplay Adapted and Best Screenplay Original for The Purple Rose of Cairo. Does that mean that, if it's in the same film, does that mean he wrote the script and then he adapted his own script? I don't know how that works. I can't look into it.
I can only imagine it does, because I don't think he didn't really produce other people's work, did he?
He also won a BAFTA for Purple Rose of Cairo, although somebody else won for Prisoner as well. We'll move on to other films of that year. Let me just check this stuff in. After Hours, Martin Scorsese, Griffin Dunn, Rosanna Arquette. That's definitely one I think I saw at, my friend Kerry. It's a 1985 black comedy.
Rosanna Arquette was definitely one of my pin-ups back then.
I think that's one that my friend Kerry introduced me to at university. That Agnes of God, that had Jane Fonda, Anne Bancroft and Meg Tilly. American neo-noir drama mystery film. Might be worth me exploring that. It's about a novice nun. The title sounds more like a comedy, doesn't it? It doesn't sound like, it sounds like it's being, doesn't sound like something that's serious, but yes, I'll have to explore that.
It sounds serious to me.
Alice in Wonderland. No, it's just made for TV, but it's got Roddy McDowell, on Anthony Newley, Telly Savalas, Ringo Starr, Shelley Winters. Two-part made for television. It was. I don't think it was a cartoon. I think it was an actual.
That's quite a cast.
What else? The Bad Seed, Lynn Redgrave, David Carradine.
Isn't it Telly Savalas and Alice in Wonderland? Yeah.
That's amazing.
Who loves you, Hadda?
It's a made-for-television horror film.
What, Alice in Wonderland?
No, The Bad Seed. It's a remake of a 1956 film. The Black Cauldron, Freddie Jones, Nigel Hawthorne, animated. That's a Walt Disney Studio. Walt Disney Studios' first PG-rated animated film.
Oh, grief.
Brazil, Terry Gilliam.
Oh, yes.
I don't think I've ever seen, but it's got Jonathan Price and Michael Palin, Robert De Niro.
I think it's Water that it came out saying, with Michael. Or was it Water or Brazil? There's Michael Caine and the guy from That's Life had a part in it.
The Breakfast Club, John Hughes. That's one that was introduced to by our mutual friend David. That's about a load of different students who. It's one of those Brat Pack movies, basically. And Wally Ringwald, Anthony Michael Hall, Emilio Estevez. It's about people who are put on after school detention and how they all bond together. Apparently, it's a bit. If you watch it now, it's a little bit questionable or a little bit uncomfortable to watch some of the things, some of the attitudes to various minorities, but
no doubt it was a realistic depiction of life.
I don't remember watching it. I mean, obviously, I saw it. I think I saw it in the last 5 years, and I don't remember finding anything because that's what those characters would say.
Of course they would.
You can't change that. That's what people.
Yeah, I know. That's what people are funny about. They fancy rewriting history these days, don't they?
Cat's Eyes, Drew Barrymore, James Woods. Isn't that something to do with Stephen King? Yeah, it's a horror thriller film written by Stephen King. Comprises 3 of his short stories from Night Shift. He's got a book of short stories of his. The Coca-Cola Kid. It's got Eric Roberts in, Greta Scacchi. It's a comedy. Oh, made in Australia. Death Wish 3. Charles Bronson. Michael Winner directing. Those films were still quite sort of...
Yeah, I mean, Death Wish had been going over 10 years by now. You would have thought someone like Bronson and Winner, who were quite temperamental, would have wanted to move on by now. You know,
Fright Night, Roddy McDowall.
Oh right, yeah.
I think that's.
Creepers is another horror film of that year.
We might have to come back to Creepers because I think that's the American name of an Italian film.
I wouldn't be at all surprised. Something about a chimpanzee with a knife or something.
Yes. I know it's Phenomena. It's a 1985 Italian horror film directed by Dario Argento, who did... I think I've shown you some Dario Argento films.
Yes, well, I think I've seen
Suspiria. I think I've shown you that.
There was one from the little lady from Phantom of the Paradise.
Yes, Suspiria. Yes,
Suspiria.
Jennifer Connelly is in Phenomena or Creepers before she became one of her early films. She was also in, well, she still does films now. She was in A Beautiful Mind, which we were talking about on the live show. But she was in Labyrinth. She's the girl from Labyrinth as well. Yeah, Phenomena also has Donald Pleasance in it. It is a very strange film. It has a fly who's a detective, although I don't know what was cut. One of those things where if you know a film is supposed to be a certain amount of length long, although I'd like to see the Creepers version, I think I own a copy, I was thinking, well, I should watch it just to compare what's chopped out of it. But yeah, there's a fly that is used as like a detective to trace a body, and there's a monkey with a flick knife, and Donald Pleasance sort of plays the typical mid-80s sort of role for Donald Pleasance.
Oh, as detective-y, sinister.
Yeah, I think he's sort of scientist in this one, but yeah, he's in a wheelchair. At least he's in the version I've seen. Did you ever see Creepers?
No, I tell you why I know Creepers is because I used to watch. Was it the film series? You know, the Film 85 film with Barry Norman, and I think Parkinson was standing in for him when the Creepers thing, because I think he wasn't very impressed with Creepers. And what was there was a Sissy Spacek film that came out that year. I think it might have been The River, with which had Mel Gibson as well as a.
Presumably, if it's being reviewed on the film series, then that's what it would have been released as. Yes. It must have been released as Creepers, at least in some cinemas in the UK too, because Creepers is the name of the name that it was released as in America.
Yeah.
I didn't know. I was kind of presuming that we'd have had Phenomena. As it,
no, I know that.
Interesting.
But I remember Parkinson standing in for Barry Norman and reviewing the Sissy Spacek film, but earlier reviewing Creepers and not really being very impressed with Creepers.
Oh, well, we've gone off down a wiki wonder there, but got the Goonies. I think we mentioned that.
I've never seen that. I never really appealed to me, the sort of bratty kiddie film. Although it's a cult favourite, isn't it?
I think people my age are supposed to get very excited about it, but I'm afraid I haven't got that excited about it. I don't think it's a bad film, but I don't think it's really a bit like the Lost Boys. People get excited about it, but
I saw that many years ago in Bristol, the Lost Boys. It must have been its first telly outing. Or video? No, probably video.
The Howling 2, Christopher Lee and Sybil Danning. Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome. Mel Gibson and Tina Turner.
Commando with Schwarzenegger.
National Lampoon's European Vacation.
The family getaway for the family everybody wants to get away from.
Is that the one that's got that catchy song?
They lean on. They lean on Stonehenge and it falls down. That sort of level of humour, I'm afraid.
Lindsay Buckingham's Holiday Road was once again featured as the film's theme song. I know that song, Holiday Road, so I've obviously seen one of those.
Yeah.
One of those National Lampoon ones, but I don't know which one. A Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Freddy's Revenge. That's the one that's a lot of people's favourite because it's a bit darker and has quite a lot of hidden subtext, and before it gets really silly, and I think it's the last film where Freddy's supposed to actually be quite scary before he just starts making stupid comments when people die. I think it's about I've seen it. I want to see it again. It's got a bit of a gay subtext to it about sort of suppressing yourself, and I think the person who's possessed by Freddy is trying to sort of suppress the fact that he is taken. Sorry, what was the film that you made? Pee-wee's Big Adventure?
Yeah.
Tim Burton, yeah. That had Paul Rubens, Elizabeth Daily, Mark Holton, Morgan Fairchild, James Brolin. Porky's Revenge, the second sequel to Porky's. I think I might have seen some of Porky's because it was one of those films that I definitely haven't seen Porky's Revenge, I don't think. Police Academy 2, their first assignment. I've never really seen any of the Police Academy films.
No. I think basically they're a version of like what I tried to do with Run Fast in the World, and you play for laughs.
Yeah. Return to Oz.
Oh yes, with Jeannie Marsh as Mondi. Yes, never saw it, but I saw loads of clips and read a lot about it.
Yeah. Silverado. I was going to say, is that a comedy western? But because it's got John Cleese in it, but it's also got Kevin Costner in. Could be anything. Cliff Goldblum, Rosanna Arquette again.
Busy girl.
Klein.
And I have to say, Return to Oz wasn't the first sequel of Wizard of Oz. There was a Journey Back to Oz, which was a cartoon one in 1971, and it's still the witch was still alive then. They would go a woman who played the witch, and she actually did the voice of the baddie witch in it.
And then there was The Wiz with Diana Ross, which I think was a bit of a...
There's an all black...
I'm not sure whether it's supposed to be a bit of a flop or whether it was successful. I think I've heard both views. Young Sherlock Holmes, Barry Levinson, Nicholas Rowe, Alan Cox. Well, I think that's enough for 1985. We've got one more year to go, so...
Hello, listeners. It's me again, your friend, Cuthbert. Whilst the guys take another short rest, I intend to share with you further moments of Sutton Park. I hope you'll find them engaging. After they have played out, we will return for our final film conversation!
Look, whilst I'm here, I shall try and do what I can. To help exercise your dog. Not have to exercise it. I don't mind. Leave Richard alone. I think you're getting ready to go off.
On a regular day, when I go out to work, right, he comes home from his bird watching. He stays here for about half an hour, doles himself up, I should say, and out, and then he buggers off round to the Paxton Arms with his Filipino lad friends.
Oh, Crispin.
What?
Crispin, why didn't you go off?
What I'm trying to say is, he's only going to be here for another about 15 minutes, and then he's going to bugger off. So we've got to get this done soon. So he'll be in the other room somewhere, perhaps.
Right.
Wait a minute. He's just gone by. He's gone out early.
Oh, well, Crispin, follow Crispin. You better follow him if you want to go with it. Go and see his friends. Come on, Richard. Let's go. See if we can. I like the sound of this pub. We can pop there and have some lunch, then we can pop off down to London shopping.
It's the Paxton Arms.
Right, okay. Thanks a lot.
See if you can stop him from going just for a little while.
Oh, right.
Hold him off.
Okay, I shall hold him off for a while. I'll enjoy holding him off. Well, Happy New Year, Paul, and we'll probably see you in the new year. And I do hope that your friend Mr. Trowbridge it gets found and everything. Okie doke. Bye. Yeah. Happy New Year.
You do have some strange friends, Paul Chardlock.
Well, no, they're not strange. They're just not strange.
One of them was a cuddly bear.
That's
and the
Richard.
other one was a dragon type thing.
Yeah, well, that's Richard and Crispin. Not Richard and Judy. Crispin and Richard. Crispin's the dragon type thing, and Richard's the teddy bear. They're
I worry about you sometimes. Now look, here, take this.
Right.
You get on with it. Twitcher must get rid of that dog. Monster thing that's in my dog.
Right.
He's a hellhound, but I don't want him to be a
Have I got
hellhound.
to catch up with Twitcher myself?
I want him to be a German Shepherd like he was a year ago.
Have I got to catch up with Twitcher myself?
Well, yes, they're holding you off for you, the other two.
All right.
Quick,
Okay.
wait.
Just wait there. Yes. Yes, your friend wants you, Mr. Twitcher. Yes. Okay. I'll see you at the Paxton Arms later, all right? Goodbye. Goodbye, Paul. How long is it to the circus?
Look, take the book. I'll go get the dog ready, right? You go and talk to Mr. Twitcher.
Right.
I'll let the dog out as soon as you give a signal, like what?
Right, okay. Are you like coughing loudly or something? Huh?
Coughing, right.
Coughing.
You cough, dog's out.
Right, and it's not very long into the circus. Oh, I better get working. I've got to get this sorted out. Oh dear. I feel a bit bad about leaving, Paul. I just hope you'll be okay. Yes. Come on, Richard. Let's go off down to the shops and things. Hello, viewers. Twitcher's just down there. Look, I don't know whether he'll know. I don't really want to go into any depth with him about all we need to do is to read the passage from the book. I shall just try and convince him to, without necessarily saying what he's actually going to cause by reading it. All right? Okay.
Yeah. Wait. Look. Listen here, you.
Yes.
Just put that down for a second. I've been wondering where you've got to. I phoned you the other day about Arnold trapped in that laboratory underneath the telephone box down the road.
Oh, not more problems. There's the circus. There's Arnold.
When are we going?
Ben's dealing with Arnold.
What? Stop talking to your eyeball. When are we? We're going to go now. Look, we're running out of time.
You saw Crispin, did you? You saw Crispin.
Oh yes, I'm going to meet him and his teddy bear.
I think you get on well with him. No, before we do that, I need you to do something for me.
Yes, what?
I need you to read something from this book. I'm thinking about doing.
Arnold is far more important than a passage in a book.
But this is top secret.
Smeg?
Yes. It's a special Smeg.
No, it's not. It's that bird book.
Yes, but I'm doing a bird reading seminar, and
what's that got to do with?
And I think you'd be great for reading this particular passage. Or something.
Oh, it's that passage. Parkhurst is always going on about.
It's very good. He's heard you reading it and thinks you do very well in this.
Oh, does he?
Yes. He thinks you.
So you think my voice is
suitably
rotund and
yes.
Oh well, perhaps if you put it like that, I'll have a crack at it. So you want me to start talking now then?
Just a minute. He's easier to con than I thought. I'm just going to before you start. I just need to clear my throat.
There will be lapwings.
I need to clear.
Oh, right, yes. Surely it should be me that clears my throat, you fool.
Podcast! Don't worry, keep going.
Then silver white plumage contrasted pleasantly with the rich brown earth. On high ground, among the hills and mountains of Scotland, Wales and elsewhere,
that's great.
the larger birds of prey, such as the buzzard, eagle and falcon, make their home. These are often retreats inaccessible to the ordinary weather.
Keep going, that's right, that's fine. Good. Good grief! The devil!
What?
The devil! It's the devil! Look, the devil from the devil dog! It's being hunted up!
Bloody ain't come off!
What do we do now?
Quick, come on, it'll attack us or something. Bloody hell. Look, I hope this isn't some of your doing.
Don't worry, it's a long story. Maybe it's best to be going and deal with this Arnold business.
Look, take it back.
He's still there. He's under that lamp. He's not trying to harm us. Just a minute. Oh, he's about to harm us now.
After the swallows in front of you.
Doesn't matter, quick.
How did you do that?
He's still coming.
Not yet.
He's still coming. Just a minute. The door's stuck. The door's stuck.
Devilry.
It's gone bolted from the other side.
Perhaps it'd go through that window.
We'll never come out in time. It's coming.
Yes, Cuthbert, is he ready? He's ready, Paul. Yes, he's very ready.
Hello again, Paul. I intend to help you select one final film year. It is our third this episode. Hence I am thrice as excited to select it for you both.
Go on then, Cuthbert. What year are we doing next?
Your third and final film year is 1998. Time to get chatting, guys! Exclamation.
1998? 1998. Well, at least I was certainly... I knew Callum by this point, and we got into the stage of going to the cinema almost every week, so I probably recognise a lot of these films, although my heart falls a bit, because these are none of these films are films that I own. Maybe one of them I would possibly rewatch. Before we say any more, I'll read you the top 10, Nick. The number one that year, again, taking into consideration, this is very American biased, but these are all films I recognise, so I guess they did pretty well overall. Armageddon was number one. Saving Private Ryan.
Oh yeah.
Number two. I don't remember. I don't remember hating that film, but it's not a film I would want to. I would rush around and want watch all the time or anything. So, Godzilla number three. I can't remember. I've seen one or two Godzilla films. I mean, I haven't seen any. Actually, the ones I probably really want to see are the really old 60s ones, sort of the actual Japanese originals, but I've never seen any of those. This would be big budget. There's something about Mary. I remember that's the. I remember seeing that. That's the. I remember about that. That's the bit where she has certain fluids in her hair. Cameron Diaz, Matt Dillon. It's got Lee Evans in it. I'm not a fan of Lee Evans.
Yeah.
He's the sort of like Norman Wisdom impersonator. That's probably being unfair, but not that unfair. I was going to say that was the film I would consider watching again, but I'm thinking now I'm reminded that he's in it. I don't know.
I think the only film I can recall going to see, and that's not to say I didn't see any others, but I do remember going to see The Avengers, the big screen version of that. An ex-girlfriend of a friend of mine was actually in the audience, and we sat together and kept each other company. I thought the Stephen Tara kiss thing was a bit silly and a crowd-pleasing exercise, but I suppose because they were trying to sell it abroad, that's why they had Uma Thurman. And Uma Thurman makes quite a good Bond girl. I liked the fact that Connery was the baddie, and it tickled me that Eddie Izzard was his sidekick, because Eddie Izzard spends much of his act doing Connery impressions. So I wonder what Connery made of it.
I rewatched that in the last 6 months, and
it's all right.
It's all right. Yeah.
So it's not special, but it's all right.
Which really it should have been. It should have been more special.
Yes.
Let me just finish this list of. So we've got A Bug's Life, which I always confuse with. Oh, is it Ants, the one that Woody Allen's in? But I probably happily. It's an animated film from the creators of Toy Story. I don't think I've seen it. I'd probably watch it on a plane or something, or I probably watch it not on a plane, but
just have the quickest of squints to see whether I've actually got any 98 films on my. It wasn't a Bond year.
But A Bug's Life does have some interesting people in it. It has, well, not the most famous people. Jonathan Harris from Lost in Space plays a praying mantis, who is the circus magician. That probably is who interests me most of all. Roddy McDowall plays Mr. Soyle, the ant colony's resident thespian.
Roddy McDowall died that year, so it must have been one of the last films he did.
I mean, there are lots of other people like Kevin Spacey and Julia Louis-Dreyfus and Hayden Panettiere. She was in Heroes in the noughties, and she was quite young then. She must have been a kid at that stage. She does say she's someone's younger sister. But Dennis Leary, David Hyde Pierce from Frasier, Michael McShane, he was known for Whose Line Is It Anyway?
He was.
Over here. But Deep Impact, another one of them sort of big budget disaster movies with Elijah Wood. Mulan, Dr. Dolittle. This was the version with Eddie Murphy. Shakespeare in Love. That bit.
Oh, actually,
Gwyneth Paltrow.
I go and see Shakespeare in Love. I seem to recall, because I was getting blockbusters by then. I seem to recall going to see Shakespeare in Love with. So I used to go to the cinema with my friend Ali Gracie. I think it rings a bell. I think I might have seen it.
Yeah, and Lethal Weapon 4, Mel Gibson. I don't think even Callum and I saw that one.
So interesting to see Joseph Fiennes as, because I just played Shakespeare by then on stage, and I was interested to see somebody else's interpretation.
Yeah, I'll quickly run through. I won't break it down quite the same as we did before, but I won't specify whether it was Golden Globes, etc. But best film, Saving Private Ryan did well. Shakespeare in Love did pretty well. Best director, Steven Spielberg won lots of awards for Saving Private Ryan, although Peter Weir got one for The Truman Show. Now, The Truman Show, if it'd been almost any other actor...
Yes, I know what you mean.
I'm not a fan of Jim Carrey, except for in The Grinch when you can't tell it's Jim Carrey. I think I'm more appreciative of some of the things he's said more recently, or the political things I think he's stood up against Trump and so you know, it's not. I just don't really enjoy him, and I remember watching The Truman Show, and I remember thinking it sounded like the sort of film I'd like, but I almost felt like the film began at the point where it finished, because I think it ends with him escaping the world that he's been trapped in, The Truman Show. But I wanted to know how many minutes he lasted out in the real world, because and you didn't see that, you just saw him escaping. But I mean, there's another film there, because how on earth did a person who'd lived in that sort of thing? But maybe that was the point. But they could have had less in the, you know, whatever the running time was, could have had less of it, and then more of what happened once he actually got out. But I don't know that that would ever going to be a big hit for me with him in it.
No, I there was a film that Dex showed me once with him and Kate Winslet, where the Eternal Sunshine of the...
don't think I like that either.
It was quite an interesting concept. I enjoyed it. I always find Kate Winslet a little bit maudlin, but she was okay in that.
Yeah, I think I saw it. I thought
maybe it's because she flashed her knickers.
I think it was very highly regarded, and I thought it was okay, rather than
again, Jim Carrey. If it had been somebody other than Jim Carrey, yeah.
I think the thing is, it was also sold a bit as his first serious role, but it wasn't that serious because his character in the Truman Show just did his Jim Carrey type antics. So there wasn't enough of him being any different than he usually was. And I mean, it's a long time. I haven't seen it since '98, but I can still remember being just sort of like, not. I don't think it's his great, like, really doing something really different. Not like Robin Williams, where he does. Sometimes he can annoy me if he's too madcap, but I like things like Dead Poets Society, and there's one or two thrillers he did where he was playing it serious, and there's no doubt that even Mrs. Doubtfire I enjoyed because it was
he's got shades, doesn't he?
He can be a bit much, but yeah, when he's serious, and I'm not yet seen anything Jim Carrey where there is such a transition like there is with Robin Williams when he does serious.
Well, I remember years ago when we were reading something in the paper, and when I was on Stag Do in Dover, and you were reading the paper about best actors, and we came to Robin Williams. Yeah, he's either very, very good or very, very crap.
Michael Caine got a Golden Globe for Little Voice. I remember Little Voice because that was one where it was a very good performance by Jane Horrocks, and Brenda Blethyn and Jim Broadbent and Ewan McGregor. And I know this sounds really pathetic, but I remember that film was spoilt for me, but I just remember there being a lot of swearing in it, and that sort of swearing for no reason. Yeah. And I remember that spoiling it for me. And I was only 22 or something. So it's not like I just.
It can get too much. I mean, I was in a play. Well, it never came to anything, but a new play, and it was a really good story and a really good idea, and it just could have done with dialing back the swearing.
Ian McKellen also got a Critics' Choice Award for Gods and Monsters and Apt Pupil.
Oh yeah,
Apt Pupil is a Stephen King, and I didn't remember that Ian McKellen was actually in that. It was David Schwimmer was in that too. Robert Benigni. Oh, I think I know this. Yes, I do know. Life is Beautiful. Italian comedy drama. I think I have been shown that, so I do know what that is, but it's been a while. Very quickly, Best Actress, Kate Blanchett got a Golden Globe for Elizabeth. Gwyneth Paltrow got one for Shakespeare in Love. Yeah, it's kind of those two. Kate Blanchett across the board. With some award ceremonies are giving it to Kate Blanchett for Elizabeth, some of them are giving it to Gwyneth Paltrow for... I think I saw both films, but I can't remember enough about them to say which one
I get into my head Kate Blanchett was the Queen in Shakespeare in Love.
You might be right.
I'm sure she was. Queen Elizabeth.
Let me have a look.
Oh no, that was no, Judi Dench.
Yeah. Ed Harris got something for The Truman Show, Billy Bob Thornton for A Simple Plan, Robert Duvall for Civil Action, James Coburn for Affliction, Geoffrey Rush for Shakespeare in Love.
Well, it was one film that I think I went to see with Ali Gracie, and it was Taylor of Panama, with Pierce Brosnan, and it always amused me because with that and what's the one which is a remake of a Stephen McQueen. And he's a thief. What's it called?
I quite like that.
You know the one I mean. And it amused me. At the end of both films,
Rene Russo or something.
He's on a plane being handed a drink by a beautiful woman, and both films end the same way. And I was like, has he got it written into his contract? Has to have a glass of something bubbly, sort of handed it to him by a beautiful woman. Oh.
The Thomas Crown Affair.
Thomas Crown Affair, that's right, yeah.
Yeah, I quite like that. I think I might have even seen that more than once. Yeah. But I was I enjoyed Pierce Brosnan's Bond, and for more than one reason. And
I find Art Thieves a bit boring, I must admit. I mean, I quite like Brosnan, but I don't know.
Yeah, those last people I was telling you about, Ed Harris,
oh yeah,
blah blah blah, Geoffrey Rush, they were Best Supporting Actor, Best Supporting Actress, Lynn Redgrave for Gods and Monsters. She died quite.
She did.
Oh, she lasted till 2010.
Oh, right.
Yeah, I thought she died more like around that time. But
so did I.
Kathy Bates, also Best Supporting Actor for Primary Colours, Joan Allen for Pleasantville, Judi Dench for Shakespeare in Love, Academy Awards and BAFTAs. But yeah, so I think we'll just before we have to say goodbye, I think we'll just see what else came out that we may have forgotten. Addams Family Reunion. Now, that's a straight to
video.
Yeah, I mean, it's still got Daryl Hannah. Was Daryl Hannah in as well? Anyway, I like those Addams Family films. I remember seeing both those, but I wouldn't have seen that
Something
one.
as big as Addams Family went straight to video.
Yeah, I mean,
what gives? I
mean, the first two were very. I don't know why. They did have quite a different cast. I don't know. You thought if the first two had done quite well, they could have done a third. Maybe the second one didn't do as well as it's like with the Dalek movies in the 60s. The first one, because it's all studio based, I never enjoy as much as the Dalek Invasion of Earth, and yet that didn't do so well. So.
Yeah, I mean, I must admit I prefer Dalek Invasion, but I neither. I'm rather sorry they didn't actually do a completely original script rather than just copy the TV versions. But.
Oh, Ants, which I mentioned, where Woody Allen plays one of the ants alongside Gene Hackman, Jennifer Lopez, Danny Glover, Dan Aykroyd, Sylvester Stallone, Sharon Stone, came out in '98, which is probably why A Bug's Life and Ants, it's easy to confuse the two because
around
the same time.
Two Sun Adventure people together.
Whether they ever got to meet, whether they got to meet when they recorded it.
But that's the year Roddy died. So.
What else have we got? Yeah, The Avengers is mentioned. Big Lebowski, which I've definitely seen that. It's one of those, and that's one of those films that's quite, with Jeff Bridges and John Goodman, Julianne Moore. It's one of those films that I sort of saw, and yeah, I haven't watched it again since. So I don't think I hated it, but maybe because people talked about it so much, I don't have many memories of it. Now, Woody Allen's film of '98 was Celebrity, which is a bit of a weird one. Kenneth Branagh is playing a Woody Allen type character.
Oh, I remember that. I remember seeing that. Yeah, you showed me that.
Leonardo DiCaprio, a lot of famous people making cameos.
He basically does an impression of Woody, doesn't he?
Yeah, and the other weird thing is, you can tell it feels a bit like an old script that's been made now, but he hasn't updated. So I remember Kenneth Branagh, because I know that Woody Allen writes, I think he writes on a typewriter still, and so did the Kenneth Branagh character, and just because he was quite a youngish character at the time, I just thought, well, even if you use the typewriter, I knew what I did at that point. When I used the typewriter, I would photocopy it. I wouldn't have one copy and then allow it to get blown away.
I still wrote in longhand.
Yeah,
it's only I was still writing longhand when we finished Woman for All Reasons.
I mean, this person again. This person. Would you go straight if you were writing? Would you go straight on a typewriter? Wouldn't you perhaps write it in hand first? Because my typing was really poor. I'm old enough that I did have an electric typewriter for one of my birthdays before I had access to a computer, and it had like a thing that kind of deleted as well. Like a.
Oh yes, yeah.
but my typing at that stage was so bad that I mean, I think I might even still have evidence. It wasn't great. I mean, as much as I like Woody Allen, there are some things, and I think some of these things are probably quite minor. But like, you have a film set in the noughties, and a 22-year-old boy is a massive jazz fan because Woody's a jazz fan.
Yeah.
But then I also second guess myself and go, well, maybe there are probably loads of 22-year-old jazz fans. If they've been brought up with jazz, then why are you comparing the character to? It's as bad as criticising Woody for making characters. So I don't know. It's just that most 22-year-olds it's probably a bit of an exceptional character, and maybe you almost need to mention that in the script. That all my friends laugh at me because I like jazz, but everyone else likes pop. But he doesn't reference those sorts of things, and I think it's just me overanalyzing it. I'll shut up.
No, that's interesting. Observation.
But well, it's rare I say bad things about Woody, so
I've heard you say them before.
Yeah. But mostly I say good things when they deserve. No, I remember this one. This is still a favourite. This is quite a favourite from the time. The Faculty. This is a sort of like Invasion of the Body Snatchers type thing, but done in that sort of after the success of things like Scream, and I know we did last summer. I think it was probably made by the same it's set in a school where all the teachers are slowly being taken over. I'm pretty sure I would have showed you it at some point. It has Elijah Wood, it has Clea Duvall, it has Josh Hartnett, it has Salma Hayek, it has Famke Janssen, who was in
Goldeneye,
has Piper Laurie.
Lovely Piper Laurie.
Who was also in Twin Peaks. I knew a bit from Twin Peaks.
Like Piper Laurie.
I mean, that's one I still own, it's made by Dimension Films, who I think made the Scream films. And it had that. Do you remember, like those sorts of horror films like Scream and stuff? They had sort of like black background with the actors sort of almost like in a like layered at different levels and stuff. And there were lots of. It was almost like somebody had decided, that's. I know you did last summer. Lots of people's faces looking a bit with the same black background. It was a very sort of
like the poster.
Yeah, poster of the time. And I think The Faculty has something quite similar. But it's a good film because you get to the point where it has the same sort of thing, I think, as the film, where they're having to test to see if who is the thing. Because everybody looks normal, but one of them is the thing, and they have to. I think they do that with the characters to try and work out. It has similarities to that as well. It's a fun film. Another. So you can tell that some of the films that I like were the sort of not the big hits, but the sort of popular. I guess films that 23-year-olds would go. Well, I still like them now, so it's not good. But we've got Halloween H2O. 20 years later.
I got that from Blockbusters.
Yeah, that's got Jamie Lee Curtis and Josh Hartnett as her son. And that's...
Yeah, I was quite curious about that because I think I quite like the original Halloween. It's not. I never felt it quite delivers as much as it claims to, but there's some nice spooky moments in it.
It was quite fun. Again, it was fitted in along the lines of those sorts of films where that sort of 98 or Scream was about 96. It was that then that I started getting into those sorts of slashery films.
I remember watching a load of those kind of films with you around the late 90s, early noughties.
I think I took Paul Callum to see a lot of them as well, and he wasn't necessarily a horror fan as much, but I mean. He got. I
wouldn't say I was a fan, but I do like dipping in now and then. I do. I'm interested.
I Still Know What We Did Last Summer came out that year.
Yeah.
I Still Know What We Did Last Summer. That's the sequel. That's more of a dud, but a kind of enjoyable dud. I think they all go off to an island. There's actually about 3 of them now. I don't think I've even seen the third one. I have a new Blu-ray box set. I'm not even sure that maybe even Scream 2 didn't come out in 98, but I'm only at K at the moment.
Remember you and I going to see Scream 3 when you and I went to Coventry? We were in Coventry for, is it the second or third or fourth Battlefield convention?
And I think we got told...
you and I went to... We sort of slipped off at a quiet
Lisa might
time.
have told us off for missing something, and we were kind of like, well, we're going to the cinema.
You were very keen to show me them, and we went to see Scream 3, and Buffy was in it, wasn't she? Yeah.
I remember that Carrie Fisher was in it, playing somebody who always gets mistaken as Carrie Fisher, and it's a really good scene. Toby and I are big fans of all of the Scream films and the TV series, which was a thing in its own right. And we're excited that there's a Scream 5 coming out, because with all the original cast still, I just hope it's as enjoyable. We really enjoyed Scream 4.
I enjoyed Scream 4. I probably enjoyed. It's got that wonderful line, and that's probably the one I enjoyed the best so far. It's got that wonderful line. I can trivia your arse under the table.
What else is there? That's the year that Lost in Space film came out, with William Hurt and Gary Oldman. I think Gary Oldman played Dr. Smith.
Yeah.
Matt LeBlanc was in it. Heather Graham. Skipping through these: Man in the Iron Mask, Leonardo DiCaprio, John Malkovich, Mask of Zorro, Antonio Banderas, Anthony Hopkins, Catherine Zeta-Jones, Meet Joe Black, Brad Pitt, Anthony Hopkins. I remember seeing that. I think that was a sort of Anthony Hopkins is the devil sort of type, something like that. And it was a remake. I can't remember if I liked it or hated it in the end. I think it was a bit long list, but Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, Johnny Depp, another Terry Gilliam film. The Odd Couple 2, Jack Lemmon and Walter Matthau came back together again to do that. Patch Adams, Robin Williams. I have a feeling that's one of my less favourite type of Robin Williams film, a sort of sentimental, doctory, dramery.
Not for me either.
Pleasantville, Tobey Maguire, Reese Witherspoon, Jeff Daniels. I think I might have seen that. I have a feeling that was a bit Truman Show-ish, but I might be wrong. Let me see. I need to find out whether Scream 2 came out this year. Psycho. Oh, that's the version of Psycho where they just made a colour scene-by-scene remake, Gus Van Sant. I don't know that I ever saw it, but I remember the guy deliberately remade the film exactly as Hitchcock made it. There might be some differences, but that's my remembrance anyway. Ronin, Robert De Niro, John Reno. It's a sort of action thriller film. I feel like if I didn't see it, I saw the poster.
Blade. That's one we went to see with at work around that time.
Blade, yes.
Blade. Not my cup of tea.
Wesley
at all,
Snipes, Stephen Dorff, Chris Christopherson.
Ah.
Is that vampires?
Yeah. That's based on the Marvel. Was it Marvel or? It's a character. It's a character. It's like a vampire who's able to fight other vampires.
No sign of Scream 2. Gonna have to look it up now.
I don't think I ever went out so much socially with anyone work-wise as I did with Index. They really did. They really did party, those guys.
Scream 2 was 97. At least it was in America. Oh, very late. It was like December the 10th in America. I wonder if it probably got to us in 98. Probably why I'm thinking, Scream is 96. They must have really pushed the... that's probably why it came out so late the following year. The thing that annoys me about this new Scream film, Scream 5, is it's not going to be called Scream 5. It's going to, which I can understand by the time you get that far down the franchise. But just calling it Scream, which I think is what they intend to do. I mean, they've done this with Halloween. There's a you probably don't know necessarily, but there's a new, like a rebooted. Well, it's not even rebooted, it's like reimagined. They killed off Jamie Lee Curtis's character, and now they're imagining what would happen if she hadn't have died, and if she'd... Which is fine and all very well. From a librarian point of view, it's just... because someone's going to call it Halloween. Well, you know, there's already already another film.
I think I should know. I'm not a big fan of over-egged puddings, but
it's not the same film as it's just released to confusion, and why not come up with a different name for it? And I'm kind of thinking, don't call Scream 5 Scream, because there's already a Scream, and it's not like, and in this case it's even worse because it's not a reboot, or it's just, as far as I know, it's a continuation of the current characters. Why not call it Scream something? I mean, I want to see this. I want to see the film. Don't get me wrong, because I like the Scream films, but don't. It's the librarian in me.
Yeah, me too.
So, Spice World.
That was 97, was it? So I remember you coming to see you New Year's Eve 97. You'd just seen it.
I think that was in the UK. I guess this list might be more American based, in which case it probably slinks into. But it was very late in December 97. But yeah, well, I think we pretty much. Yeah, obviously. Oh, there was a Star Trek film that year, Insurrection.
Oh yes,
that was the.
I think I saw a video of that.
Yeah, I don't remember that one particularly.
I think it was a Borg one.
Yeah. I like the first one, the one where they crossed over between the two casts.
That was very good. That was Generations.
That was sort of like the Five Doctors of Star Trek.
I enjoyed it because it was a closure for Kirk.
Yeah.
I thought, it's good. I like closures. Films don't have enough closures.
And the X-Files film.
Oh yeah.
Came out that year with Martin Landau in it. I forgot he was in it.
I never liked the X-Files though.
I was sort of. I liked it some. It's one of those shows that I liked it some weeks. I didn't like it other weeks, and the story arcs could be really boring. And yeah,
I just found the leads just so dour, and there wasn't enough fun in it for me, really.
Yeah, I think that sort of was. Well, and occasionally they did put fun into the episode, but it went so far the other way.
Yeah,
I remember there being an episode where they all went to see Cher with some monsters at the end of the episode, and I was like, no. Tried to compensate lots of episodes about Scully's Catholic beliefs and how they, or lost brothers and being very, very serious, and then doing something like that. No, that doesn't work. You can't go from very, 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 very serious to very, very, very light. It's just.
Having said all that, I mean, I'm a great fan of Series 1 of Space 1999. That was very bold-faced, but somehow there was, I don't know, there was the gadgetry, and there was Barry Foster, and
it's not like every episode of season 2 is a ridiculous episode either. There was serious.
Well, the thing is, the American Office was messing them around because the one. They came along and saw the first 2 episodes and said, "Where's your monsters?" And I was like, "Well, what do you mean?" The big thing in America at the moment is monsters. They put some monsters in it. And they came back 3 months later and said, "Well, what are you doing? You've got monsters in it. Stop it!" And you were the ones who told me to put them in. So there was real lack of direction from America.
Nick, Cromarty, Cuthbert, thank you for helping us out with this episode. I'll have to add those years to our list. Anyway, right, well, we'll probably be back to talk about 3 more film years. But as usual, the big films of the year tend to make my heart sink. It's a bit like sometimes doing the music episodes where I think, these were number ones? Oh my goodness. And then you realise actually that year was quite good, just they weren't the number ones. So the same with the films. It's not, we're just not mainstream people more often.
No, I've never been a mainstream person.
No, but anyway, we'll speak to you again soon. All right, bye-bye for now.
I gotta go now!
Goodbye, 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 goodbye.
This show is part of the Pride 48 network. Find more shows over at pride48.com.
Oh dear. What's going on now? Oh, it's the Shy Life Podcast.
Let's go.
I have a voice. I have a voice.
You have a voice.
You have a voice. We have a voice.
We have a voice.
Unique voices in podcasting.
UnivazPods.net.
Paul, I am very happy to have been able to help you to select the years that formed your cinematic discussions this episode. I look forward to working with you all again soon. Goodbye, listeners. Goodbye from me, your old pal Clever Cuthbert! Exclamation. Kiki.
Oh, I think that was a wonderful episode, don't you, Toppy? I sure do. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Boy, I hope Nick Goodman is on this episode.
I don't know. It's like he puts out 20,000 episodes a month.